Warm greetings to everyone. On behalf of W4W Foundation, a think tank instituted as Citizens Collective, we welcome you to the 113th session of Wednesdays for Water, and which is on managing wastes at religious sites. The objective of Wednesdays for Water is to engage in conversation with water experts, grassroots practitioners, policymakers, and youth to explore the complex intertwined issues associated with water and the possible solutions. It has expanded since then to have more activities like the Friday Waters and the Monday Munching with Women for Water, besides organizing physical activities such as water workshops, water walks and talks, seminars, special courses, youth outreach and education program, apart from attending conferences, panels, and even other activities of policy. This is the idea to continue the water conversation in various possible ways. Whatever way comes our way, we do it, particularly because we strongly believe that water conversations are crucial for water conservation. That's the foundation of W4W Foundation. Today's session is part of the series, which is initiated by CGAPP. And the series is to bring our conversation focus on the waste generated, which eventually lands up into the water bodies. And today we are going to discuss the waste generated at religious sites. And to do the moderation of the session, we have Jasmine Kaur from CGAPP, who will also introduce CGAPP as well as introduce the speakers for us today. But before I hand it over to Jasmine, let me just introduce her. And I also have the fortune of working with her on a project where we are working on waste and water. Jasmine is a passionate environmental professional with a background in solid waste management and urban services. Currently, she's leading a project in gender equitable decarbonization and clean technology to create a more sustainable and inclusive future. Her previous work with Uttar Pradesh Municipal Corporation made significant strides in solid waste management and capacity building. We are going to post more about each of the speakers, including Jasmine, in the chat box. To just take the time in mind, I will invite Jasmine to continue today's session. And over to you, Jasmine, and thank you for organizing this session.
Thank you, Mansi ma'am. Thank you for the introduction. So first of all, welcome everyone here. Welcome to the speakers. I would like to start by introducing the organization which is responsible for these series, that is Center for Global Affairs and Public Policy. CGAPP is a think tank which is working in the field of environmental policy, climate change, sustainability, and other SDG goals. You can always visit our website to know more about us. Moving forward with what we are going to talk about today and setting the context a little bit with the data sets. Today we are going to talk, as Mansi ma'am has also stated, about religious wastes, which is getting down into the rivers. To give a little context through data sets, let me just try to introduce a certain report which has been published by CSE, which is a very famous think tank. So according to CSE, it is estimated that around 800 million tons of flowers, which is being offered all across the country in temples, mosques, and gurdwaras, is going and ending up in the rivers. Along with the flowers, we also see some vermilion packets, plastic incense packets, bangles, which are all made up of synthetic materials. Because of this waste which is ending up in the river basins, we see a lot of pollution into the river. Sometimes we see that this is also leading to pollution, arsenic pollution into the river. And to give a little more detail about what the problem is, I would just leave it to the speakers because they are experts on this topic. And to start with that, my first speaker today is Mounica. Kavya, sorry, I don't know your full name, Mounica, but I'll just stick to Mounica Kavya. And the second speaker is Dr. C.N. Manoj. To introduce Mounica, Mounica is a senior consultant with the Delhi government with a comprehensive experience in projects and policy frameworks related to climate risks, ESG, and sustainable development goals. She is the co-founder of Avni, which is a social enterprise to protect the Godavari River from dumping waste. Avni, which is a social enterprise, works to convert organic waste into value-added products like natural compost, organic liquid fertilizers, pigments, essential oils, by using simple technology like black soldier fly larva to bring social change and high impact. Over to you, Kavya, so that our audience can learn about these technologies in detail from you.
Thank you, Jasmine. I'll share my screen now so that I can have a better interaction. Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Hope my screen is visible.
It is. Please start.
Yes, it is.
Yes, thank you. So, I'll start with a simple introduction. I'm an architect and an urban professional, and I'm a trained urban infrastructure planner. So, I have worked in various fields of waste management, starting from ground level work to state level policy. What the initial issues that we find is the behavior of the people towards each and every type of waste. So when it comes to floral waste, or we say the religious waste, there is a lot of cultural aspect that comes along with the waste. So we cannot ask people to immediately change their behavior towards this type of waste because a lot of stigma or aspects that they have been learning from their childhood comes along with this forms of waste. So what we have tried in various places, including the state of Andhra Pradesh, is that to change the end life of flowers. It's not asking them not to directly dump, but to make it into a product or something that does not actually hurt their religious beliefs and actually adds toward their further their religious beliefs and will also it is not actually something that asking them not to do something, but asking them to do something different. So the main problem comes where most of the places that we see that the floral waste that is generated at even at pujas or any temples or even any events like most of the marriages, to be frank, are dumped into water bodies, rivers, or any other forms of, maybe landfill sites, etc. And that leaches into the groundwater and mixes this into the water bodies. So at the point of infusion, this increases the nutrient content. So in India, as Jasmine has already mentioned, more than 8 million tons of waste, floral waste, is dumped into water bodies. This contributes to about almost 16% of total river pollution. When we see that algal blooms, etc., are all not because of the plastic waste that we are dumping, but because of the organic waste that goes into the water bodies. So then when we started working in the projects like this, people don't usually like to dump them along with other forms of waste, like the kitchen waste or regular waste, because it hurts their religious feelings. So they rather dump it in a place that is not actually stamped over. So water bodies are the best. So they are dumped into the flowers are dumped into the water bodies. They rot and create a lot of disturbance in the water body ecosystem. So the Godavari River, like most of the cities that are located on the river bank, city of Rajahmundry. Am I audible?
I'm wondering
Yes,
whether the
yes.
slides are moving forward. I'm wondering. I don't know. I think the slides are not
I
moving
have
forward.
been okay.
Yeah.
Uh, when we talk about these, like the one we have worked is in the Godavari River Basin, the city of Rajahmundry. The city has almost 30 temples, major temples located on the banks of the river Godavari, and they generate all the waste that, like 90% of the floral waste that is generated in the city that is related to, religious places is generated by these 30 odd temples. So most of the pujas or any ceremonies associated with them are performed on the banks or the ghats of these rivers. So along these temples, etc. So once they are done with the pujas and all, the citizens just leave the temple waste, all the ritualistic items, the food, everything they bring for the pujas associated, etc. Just across the ghats and just they leave away for the municipal corporation to clean. Once 90% of the time, the animals, everything that will be there, they eat away the all the stuff, and most of the flower waste and the diyas, like other stuff like wicks, etc., are dumped directly into the river just beside.
Monica, may I interrupt, please? Can you just
Yes, please.
close the presenter window or got it? Something like this is popping up on the screen.
Okay. Is it now better?
You can just cross. Yes, now it's gone. Thank you so much.
Uh, yeah, sure. So, most of the flowers that are used in the city are not organically farmed. So, they have a lot of harmful pesticides, insecticides, etc., that are there on the flowers. So, once the city started the people started dumping these rivers, flowers, etc. on the banks, we saw a lot of these ghats started having algal blooms whenever the water used to go down, because the city is on the backwaters of a dam. So the ghats always used to have water, but when the water level used to go down, the all the ghats used to have hell a lot of, it used to be moss, it used to be these kind of booms, etc., where you used to not even have any kind of fish or anything. Not even grass used to grow properly in those banks. So when we did some kind of survey, etc., we observed that the water quality in that particular area was either below 6 or above 8.5, which is not usually the river water capacity. So when we did further research, that we understood that this can be, associated with people contracting cholera, hepatitis, and severe diarrhea in these areas during low flood season, when the water is high and the water quality actually deteriorates. So this we could associate into the deep-rooted cultural significance of floral waste dumping. So, the National Green Tribunal has also identified the city of Rajahmundry as one of the 351 critically river polluting cities. So, these are the few places, these are some of the canals that where a lot is just 1 hour, just 1 hour. And another issue that we could observe that is the fish during whenever they used to dump flowers of such quantums, the fish in that area were actually eating the flowers. This is actually spoiling the natural cleaning system of the river bottoms, and the moss is actually coming out and floating onto the water bodies during high summers. And the water quality is very bad. And in turn, this is actually spoiling the fish and the other aquatic creatures that are already there, because the quality of oxygen, etc., are also going down. So, with a mission of creating social responsibility, or we can say a social change, we started doing further research in this field. So we understood that we cannot work because people have to be associated continuously, and we involved these self-help groups to further work with them uh, in this field. So we trained the self-help group women, where we used to get all the flowers from these places, and first we used to soak them in water, so that the cultural sanctity, or the soaking of flowers in the water is actually maintained. So once the flowers are soaked, there was almost zero, you can say, zero community issue or cultural backlash from the people. So the people, once it is done, the SIG woman used to further process it into several products. The main product was initially the compost, then they concentrated on the agarbatti, then the cocoa peat, which because we were getting a lot of coconut shells, etc. Because this is the Godavari basin, we have a lot of coconut trees around. So then during high seasons, they even now they prepare this Ganesh festival is there. So they prepare the diyas and Ganesh idols with these flower petals. So these are the things that they make right now. So we usually don't do, we train the self-help group women into the processing of all these floral waste, etc. So by doing this till now, we were able to process more than 100 metric tons of waste, floral waste, and offset almost 100 kilograms of pesticide and insecticide residue. But we are way to do a lot more is left, because the city generates more than 3 to 5 tons of floral waste every day. So this is more in work in progress. We train more than 100 self-help group women almost 20 to 25 groups are actively engaged in floral waste recycling right now. So this is more or less what we have done. And this is the ghat once we have cleaned it. So this is one of the pictures of our success stories, we can say. So
Thank you for the presentation, Monica. I think we will open the floor for the questions after our second speaker has also, spoken on the issue. But I would like to highlight a very important thing that Mounica has stated in the presentation, that how floral waste is affecting the biodiversity in the rivers and is also leading to diseases in the local population, which is something, where we can say that environment and health connects with one another, and it is not just the animals which are getting affected by it, but the humans also around it. Next, I would like to introduce our second speaker, Dr. Manoj, Dr. C. N. Manoj. He is a research scientist and he has been a technical director in a couple of phytopharma companies. He is the founder of Pelican Biotech and Chemical Labs, which is a DSIR recognized research lab to develop sustainable and socially responsible products and processes with the intent to protect the environment. In addition to his lab work, outside his academics, he has also an experience in running sustainable businesses in waste management, organic agriculture, and water conservation. He has initiated several programs and projects in places like Kerala, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, and New Delhi. And these all initiatives in toto have been about encouraging people, including himself, to adopt a sustainable lifestyle and eco-friendly practices. Over to you, Dr. Manoj. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you so much, Jasmine ji, and uh, Wednesday for Water, CGAPP, and all of you have assembled here for discussing this problem of managing floral waste. I'm just, yeah. So is my slide moving?
Yes, Manoj, please continue.
Right. Okay. So, thank you, Mounica ji, for this good introduction, so that it makes my life easier. She has clearly demonstrated why management of temple flower waste is very important due to multiple things. One is basically a good value added product possibility we are actually destroying by putting into the into the water, into the river, and then spoiling the water bodies, killing the animals there. So and very major important point is, like, it's impossible to compromise on the religious beliefs while sustainability has to take a back foot, which is actually one problem this country is facing. And in those lines, probably, if the new generation, I hope most of the people who have assembled here are young students, we are able to get through this problem and try to find a amicable solution. It will be great starting point for this country who is trying to make the leadership for the next century. So when we discuss about this value addition of flower, I would like to create a cardinal rule, or maybe mention a cardinal rule in waste management, which we have experienced in the last 15 years. See, the world is going through the peak of its commerce. Anything it's actually commercial is only going to be successful. Unfortunately, sustainability is 200 years back, ever since we started an industrial process. And the sustainability is not able to catch up because it is not commercially viable. So this is basically a huge problem, and the sustainability has become an expense. This is a challenge, basically. So when we started working on waste, we realized that we need to add value to waste. Same thing Mounica ji also was mentioning, to a level where it is self-sustainable. So this project actually came to our radar a few years back, and we did some trials. And I will just tell you the technical background first, and then probably the challenges what we faced. So the value addition of a flower is highly commercially viable through generating secondary metabolites. Secondary metabolites is terminology which we call for the essential oils, the pigments, colors. So these are basically, already this industry is well established. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. It's already there. Whatever I'm talking is actually already done in this world, and in a very commercially viable way. So you'll be wondering what is actually wrong. Why can't we just scale it up? So just to give a hint, all the flowers used in the temple can be value added into the following: to the colors, the pigments. Basically, it can be a food color. Thanks, excuse me, Mounica ji, I will forget that it is highly imbibed with pesticides. But we are all eating so much of pesticide-ridden food. I think we can add a few grams into that. And also, we can extract essential oils.
Yeah, sure.
So excuse me for that. And we can extract essential oils, many biochemicals like terpenoids, steroids, both for pharma applications, animal feed. So this is one major area probably the entire world is looking into, because animal feed is competing with human feed consumption, because animal husbandry has become a major business, and many pastures of human food manufacturing has converted into animal food manufacturing. It is more viable. And then obviously every biodegradable waste end up in compost. Now, especially talking about food value for animal feed, because already these flowers which are used in temples, etc., may not go through a proper GMP certification or a drug certification which is required for a human consumption. For example, if I am taking marigold from a temple for lutein manufacturing, I will come to that, what is lutein. It may not get an approval from a US FDA. But however, all these products can go to animal feed manufacturing as per the rules and regulations of the country. So now if you look into the food value, the animal food requires plenty of antioxidants like carotenoids, anthocyanins, and flavonoids. They are currently only synthetically manufactured, used synthetic products. Hence, there is a huge scope for a tropical country like in India, where you don't have any difficulty in this. See, look, that is what is actually this. This is a boon which probably you're forgetting, because this is a country which can flower, unlike balance 60 to 70% of the world which cannot flower, and all the 365 days we can flower. So let us use this advantage and try to create some value-added products. I'll just quickly go through a few products which probably I know is happening. One is marigold. Lutein cost around lutein is basically if I remember, it's a xanthophyll extracted, this yellow color extracted from marigold, and at least there are 50 to 60 units working in South India which is working on this project. And this product is used as an antioxidant both for human consumption, as well as it's coming as a nutraceutical product. It is available in the market. The process is available in the market. Product is available in the market. So I'll tell you why we are not able to scale up from the temple flowers. Animal feed, again, marigold flowers, fermented marigold flowers, dried, is going as a finished product into animal feed manufacturing. Fire briquette, again, post-extracted or rehydrated flower peels can go to briquette manufacturing. Rose and jasmine, as all of you know, we use it for creating perfumes, essential oils basically. Hibiscus and lotus. Hibiscus extract, it's a very high value product. It's hibiscus extract is used in food colors. It is used as an Ayurvedic product. It is used in many nutraceutical concoctions. And lotus, again, same. I have put them together because both of them are basically having many of Ayurvedic applications, many Siddha applications, and cosmetics also. Tulsi. So it is a major product in South India. I don't know how bad it is. I'm telling bad because in the sense because it's getting wasted so much. So 1 kg of Tulsi is actually costing around 80 rupees now, a dry Tulsi. And tons of it is actually used in temple. And Tulsi, now it's actually scarce in South India for Ayurvedic preparations. So now Tulsi is used in most of the Ayurvedic preparations, Siddha, Unani preparations. It is used in herbal extracts. So ursolic acid is one of the major phytochemical available in Tulsi, and it is some like a sarva. It's all like a sarva roga nivarani. Like it takes care of many diseases. And so now you can mention any plant or any herb or any flower used in a temple or a church or a mosque. Mostly temples and church, because what I understand traditionally, these were actually the products developed for a medical pathway, and the temple was actually the what you call hub of all such activities. So if you ask why a specific type of flower is used in a temple, so these are the basic research what we have done. It was basically based on the type of topography of the temple, what are the types of flowers used produced around. So then it became like, as the world opened up, you got all the flowers everywhere. Now, the major challenge in managing this temple waste is one, collection. So what is the problem in collection? So when we started collecting this Vinayaka Chaturthi just passed away, it got over in Bangalore. 10 years back, in one constituency in Malleshwaram, we tried to do a collection of this marigold flowers from 15 to 20 temples. Just in a small constituency, and we want to give these flowers to the nearest extraction unit. We failed miserably because despite repeated communication to the temple authorities, they have, after every what do you call that puja stuff, they just collect all the flowers and dump in one place. So major problem with such type of collection is it has to be pure. For example, I'm not telling that I don't mind marigold is having a few grams of soil, no problem, but I cannot have 10% of marigold mixed with rose or jasmine. It is impossible to do a proper extraction. So here, the collection of clean marigold or clean flower, I'm talking about a clean product from a mixture of flowers was the problem. So for the next 2 to 3 years, and this is, this is not to be typed or somewhere, what we tried is actually we tried to empower the temples or, trying to communicate that why can't you use only one type of flower? You won't believe we did try to do this. You can use one type of flower, rather than trying to do multiple types of flowers that, it can add value. And we even actually went to a good extent. But by that time, as every environmentalist, we actually get up into so many problems, it got diluted. Because we cannot hang on to a problem for a long time, before it really catch up. But now, thanks to the sustainability discussion happening across India, this is the right time for starting communications. It's a religious communication. So, if there is a temple, why can't we focus on one type of flower, one type of, activity? This is one challenge. Second is it is easily putrefying. It's very soft. It can get, especially this temple surroundings, and mostly these flowers are always sprayed with water to give a fresh look. It will start putrefying. And most of the biochemicals, especially antioxidants or carotenoids or anthocyanins, they are extremely vulnerable to biological change under sunlight or air, water, bacteria. So the quality of these products depreciate very fast. And third is what I said actually, sorry, that mixing it up, it's impurity. It's a major problem. And fourth is storing and scaling. So the storing and scaling is the biggest problem because, the weight of probably one bag of marigold, dry marigold will be hardly 1 kg. So, and that will fetch probably 50 to 60 kilos. So now, unless you get a good quantity of marigold or a rose or a jasmine, and we are able to quickly dry it and then take it to an appropriate manufacturer, the value will not be there. So this is what actually we have struggled 10 years back. And as I said, the first three are basically mind change managements. How do we talk to the religious organizations? How do we talk to the supply chain? How do we talk to the society? But the last one, storing and scaling, is entirely a manufacturing problem. So we started working on that, and I'm glad to say that still I'm working on it. It's not come out into the first level. So we have developed a dehydration system, especially for the urban conditions, where using a microwave dehydration system, we can rapidly dehydrate such type of products. So basically, perishable commodities can be quickly put into it's basically a domesticated industrial process, which we are planning to scale it in a small level. So this is what probably I also would like to stay at stage. Probably I will discuss more. So what I'm suggesting is, rather than putting up in a huge list of plants and its biochemicals, if anybody interested in this community to identify and create a supply chain problem, please get back to us. We can provide a particular biochemical solution for that, a manufacturing and forward linkage process possibility. And that is what probably we are focusing on. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Dr. Manoj. Very well said about how temples used to be at once guardians of unique species, and we used to call them sacred groves, and today they have become one of the major polluters when it comes to flower waste in temple. So we should not just generally focus on temples, because we have other religious institutions as well, which are doing a lot of decoration, and it's not limited to just protecting the species. And also highlighting the problem of collection. Somebody in the comment section very well stated about that people have a very important role when it comes to changing behaviors, like our own parents and grandparents. Why do we go to them? We ourselves, we visit a lot of these religious places and we carry flowers as a way of showing our love towards the god, and then we just completely forget how to manage that at a later stage. So that's also a conversation, I think, which we can have, and I'll open the stage for anybody who wants to ask a question, so that we can take the conversation forward from different angles. So anybody who's interested in asking a question, please raise your hand.
Jasmine, Shubham has put a question there, so maybe we can start from there. I also have a question.
Can I answer that question? How floral waste can be minimized, right?
Yeah.
I think we should not. Because see,
Sure.
the purpose of the
Unmute yourself and ask the question directly.
Sorry?
Manoj, please continue.
Yeah, sorry. I thought yeah. So what I
Please
rather
continue.
feel that we should encourage floral industry, use of flowers in temples, because this is a business which probably can remove all the unsustainable other businesses. See, the commerce. What we need to understand is the world will not go forward without commerce, and we are actually in the grip of it. It will take maybe another 500,000 years for us to get back to a more spiritual life of simplicity. Maybe live in a very very simple life, because the entire world is driven by commerce. So the only way is to actually create green businesses, which actually will not impact on the carbon footprint of the planet. So let people may produce flowers, let it come to the temple with all this carbon footprint, and then let it have a happy ending. I think that should be the solution. That's what that's what is my suggestion about the whole thing. Yeah.
I will also add a few more thoughts. So, from our experience, whenever we interact with any temple authority or temple body, the moment we ask them to do something, they'll ask what is there in it for us. So, the moment you share your revenues with them, or ask them themselves to generate their own revenues, they're very much interested. Like TTD started their own agarbatti brand. They're more than happy with that. So similarly, if you're able to do something which they themselves can generate revenues, can offset their own costs, they're happy. So that will actually not minimize it, but maybe a better way to tackle the problem.
Right. So incentives not only works for individuals but also works for institutions like temples, and I think that is why, because they also want to kind of cover the costs of collection and segregation, as Dr. Manoj was mentioning, that it is required that wastes of different kinds do not mix with one another. Coming to Dr. Mansi, she has a question. Please go ahead, Dr. Mansi.
Yeah. Thanks, Jasmine, and wonderful discussion, very short and sweet presentation, and that leaves us room for a lot of discussion here. So thanks, Manoj and Mounica, for it. So my question starts with Manoj, when you were talking about this receiving one kind of flower, and we are in a situation of biodiversity. So many of the environmentalists are anyway talking about biodiversity, and we love colors. So we end up having many kinds of flowers in the temple, and it's like a public choice. I mean, I would like to do X flower, or maybe XYZ flower. Are there any other approaches which have been tried where mix of flowers are also recycled or upcycled? I mean, I can understand your initiative or startup, but are there examples or what kind of problem do we face when we have mix of flowers? I mean, I'm not getting into the plastic, getting into it, but just to understand this living creature, is it about the chemical part of it, or what is really coming in the way of mixed flowers products?
Yeah, it's a good question. So basically, one point which I missed to put in the first slide, thanks for giving that opportunity. So if you look into the hierarchy of value addition, the composting is the smallest value addition, because you hardly, there's literally nothing you get.
A layperson nothing.
And there is no value for compost in India, thanks to our, so much of biological matter. We don't have much value for compost. From compost to animal feed, for example, 1 kg of compost cost 5 rupees per kg. Basically, I'm talking about a commercial value. The next step of animal feed will fetch you 25 to 30 rupees. That's actually a 6-time enhancement in value. And if you're going for a value addition in terms of herbal extraction or essential oils or a phytochemical, you're talking about 100 times. So that means the viability of this recycling actually keeps catching up as we keep value addition. So this is the why this point has been put as an answer for your question, because see, there is a choice for converting the entire flower waste into a compost. If that was viable, me and you will not be sitting and talking here. See, that is what I'm trying to say, because the business will take care of
good economics behind it. So it is worth to put human resources. If it is not segregated by the people users, then temple may find a reason to segregate it.
Correct. So
it will still be point source.
Exactly. So that's what I was talking. I initiated my discussion with the commercial angle, because the entire sustainability has to run on commercial angle. This is one thing which I learned in the last 15 years. Otherwise, we will be sitting and talking and talking and talking. Nothing is going to move. Everybody will be doing a lot of greenwashing. I know that's one major thing which is happening across the globe. Lot of greenwashing, and people like us will not move an inch forward. They will actually make their own green stories and publish, do PR, and take the sustainability nowhere. While people like us has to focus on the commercial viability of the product. So why? So coming back to your question of why single species versus biodiversity. Already the biodiversity is spoiled by monocropping of a flower. For example, 10 acres of jasmine is the whole biodiversity, it's gone already. So that means now further let us try to prevent the pollution. So, and that is where probably single flowers. So I'm not even telling that, single flowers, but at least when you are, for example, morning prayer, let us use one type of flower, marigold. If you want, you can use jasmine in the afternoon. This is what we said. And evening you can use rose. That means my collection cost is actually reduced. Otherwise, putting somebody to sit in between and separate it is not viable. I hope I answered my question.
Yeah, of course. So it's more about temple managing the flowers before it reaches to them. So it's about then very simple putting notice boards, or even empowering the people who are selling flowers outside the temples.
Exactly.
If wahi available hoga, to wahi kharidenge aur wahi denge.
Correct. Business will take care of itself.
Yes. No, interesting, because I was writing in the chat box that actually all kinds of waste management is people management. So we have to invest a lot.
Absolutely. I saw that.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Let us take a message. Jasmine, I think you can take it over from me. Thanks.
Yes. So if anybody else has a question, please feel free to ask. Also, I have a question to both the speakers. So you've been talking about managing the flower waste at the temple, in cooperation with the temple authorities. We did not talk about how can we basically cater to this waste once it enters the river. Like, how are we going to do the collection from there itself? Because we still cannot stop the public from throwing it into the rivers. What are the mechanisms in place in which we can collect it from the rivers? Or there is a huge perception that it is biodegradable, so ending up in the river is not it's okay, and the corporations are not putting their energies into it. Because I have had conversations with authorities which say, okay, we will focus on plastic, but flowers and leaves are okay because they are going to end up in the river and they're going to degrade. So what is that?
Mounica ji, you can go ahead. I have been talking for a long time.
No, it's okay. Because this question often comes to me whenever I go meet anybody. Yes, it is true that flowers do degenerate within 48 hours. After that, they start leaving out the water. Once they start leaving out the water, we cannot transport it anywhere. And
I think we lost the voice.
Okay. No. I thought it was my problem. Okay, I get this always.
That's why I also jumped in.
So maybe
sorry, Mounica, we cannot hear you. Yeah.
Let me cover this time her.
Yeah,
so
finish.
Yeah, till she is coming back, probably what is my take on this question is, see, when probably I can tell this from my experience of regular waste management in Kerala. So probably, it's not trying to be proud about it, but I think Kerala segregation is one of the best what I have seen. I've been traveling around across India, and Kerala, generally the segregation quality is extremely high. So when we started this initiative 10 to 15 years back on segregation, the major challenge was basically forward linkage of all the non-biodegradable waste, plastic, glass, paper, metal, etc. And we never used to get metal and most of the good quality glasses. we don't have to take any effort. Why? Because already there is a commercial viability on the supply chain. You don't have to worry on that. So what was the worry? Different types of plastic, paper. So the moment we started creating material collection facilities, supply chains, material recovery facilities, baling units, entire stuff is now getting forward linked. That means creating that scale of supply chain is the key. So similarly, we have to actively pursue a project where we can create a scale of supply chain. And once it is done, then rest business will take care. So if I can ask Jasmine ji your question straightforward, it's so this is something like where the government or probably the society has to invest on creating the supply chain, and then the business will take over.
Right. Agree. So I think I'll just Mounica, if you're there, can you just add to it if you can hear us?
She's not
Lost her. There's the lack of connection. Anybody else who has a question, please feel free to unmute yourself as the
I see, Jasmine,
Yes.
I'm just joining here. Yeah. I see a very important point raised by Ajit sir here, and it's not a question as he writes, we take a pride in preparing food from all these kind of raw vegetables, and we want to consider waste matter as part of produce. So I want to just take that point and bring some questions to both our speakers here. When we talk about flowers, when we talk about all kinds of temple wastes, and Anubhuti writes it very well that even very well-intended people are unaware of this fact that a flower waste can be seen as waste rather than just being, complacent about it being organic. If flower is coming, or let's say we are talking about flower today, but if flower is coming with all other kinds of waste, my question to you is very naive in the sense, do they really become a bit of help to deal with inorganic waste, or they create more havoc for inorganic wastes to be handled? Do you get my question? I mean, we have another general perception that, which is often I have heard from even government officials and all, more green leaves and more कचरा के साथ प्लास्टिक रहेगा तो वो जो प्लास्टिक और बाकी वेस्ट है उसको डिकम्पोज होने में बहुत अच्छा मतलब हेल्प हो जाएगा. I need to understand from you, are they going to help in the decomposing other waste or treating other waste? My answer from instinct says no.
No.
Perception. Can you really clarify it to our participants and even other audience who are watching us live and otherwise in future also?
Yeah. So why we call something non-biodegradable is because it cannot be, a microbe cannot enter into its body. That is why we call it non-biodegradable. So, for example, plastic or glass, rubber, cloth, resin, leather, all these things are basically not impregnatable by a microbe like an algae or a bacteria or a fungi, something like that. So definitely a presence of biological matter like leaves or flowers are not going to help the degradation of a plastic waste. On the contrary, it's going to create a huge problem because eventually this plastic impregnated biological waste has to be burned, which will create huge quantities of dioxins and furans, which are most toxic gases in the world. And this is what is creating all the problem in the world. The entire disease supply chain is basically this mixed waste being burned in every corner. So, and this is a communication which has to go deep. Nevertheless, now coming back to that question in a different angle. So, for example, in a temple, again, this is happening mostly in Kerala. For example, we have an activity called Green Protocol. For example, a temple like Shabarimala. I think everybody is aware of Shabarimala, the temple.
Yes, the famous.
Yeah, so all the halabulas plus good things also.
Yes, good things as well.
So Shabarimala, we did a green protocol, and still actually it is still there, I guess. Before COVID, it was there. After that, none of us could go because of the complications. So beyond that entry point, it is called Pampa. We cannot take anything plastic, nothing plastic. So the entire 5 kilometers of trucking is done with utensils, glasswares, everything reusables. All the materials are organic or reusables. That means Sabarimala is not creating any waste, and it is in the middle of the forest. Whatever is there, actually we can throw it into the forest. That means the entire, you don't have to worry about waste if we are removing non-biodegradables out of the supply chain. This is one example we are talking about Sabarimala. Another example is right in Ernakulam district, near to Kochi city. It is called as Malayatur. It's a church. It is also something like Sabarimala. We hike through a mountain for 2 kilometers. The entire stretch was actually full of waste because of business. All cola business, all water bottle business. So the entire stretch was made green protocol by the forest. Now there is no waste because whatever biological matter is coming is going to the forest. Some cows will eat, some buffaloes will eat, some, in Sabarimala, in that case, elephants will eat. So the answer to the question was actually when we are getting rid of non-biodegradable waste, our biological waste problem is solved. I think that's what I would like to
communicate. Very well put. May I just take the liberty to ask a very sensitive question? In a country like India, where religion is religion, it's everything, and our public spaces in the form of religious spaces of temples. I personally feel that we are producing more floral waste than other religious places of other religions. Do you think these kind of comparative studies are done? Because you see, whenever we want to talk about temples, it becomes like a very different, it takes a political angle to bring any change in the society. We are majority in the country, and if we are doing these kind of things. But our other religious sites are equally listening to these kind of narratives and are willing to change. I know even some waste, floral waste, comes out of mosques, churches, and other Jain temples and Buddhist temples and all. But how recipient are they in, even if they produce lesser waste in terms of quantity? I mean, do you have had any experience in the past of dealing with them?
Monica ji, would like to answer?
I have had with a few gurudwaras and Jain temples, but when they were mostly seasonal. I would rather keep it Jain.
They were mostly, pardon? Oh, mostly?
Seasonal.
Okay.
Yeah, Jain mandirs have a particular season during which they decorate the entire temple. The quantum is almost equal to the entire generation by a normal Hindu temple. One day of a Jain temple days is equal to an entire year's generation of the normal Hindu temple. Similarly, Gurudwaras also. But the thing comes, they send it, they don't actually dump it into the river. They have a system of burying, what they have told me, or it should not be dumped into the water body. Either they put it into the, around the trees or something. And Gurudwaras, they said they compost. This is the second-hand information that I have, but this is what I have been told. Because I have not seen them creating a lot of, we don't get trucks and trucks, loads to dump into the water bodies because it is quite visible. But Hindu temples, what happens is it is a point infusion, but small quantities throughout the year.
No, I feel we will require here.
The difference what I said.
I feel we will require 1 or 2 more sessions to discuss religious ways because it is such an interesting topic to work on. Jasmine, over to you.
To be frank, I'll add one more point. Most of the priests in these temples were very sensitive to the concept of floral waste. They know what can be created. Way back when I was doing my masters, like 14, 16, people, when I used to go and ask the priest, what do you do with your floral waste? We used to have answers. We can make gulkand out of it. We can make, compost out of it. But at the end of the day, we used to end up with the water bodies. So it is the behavior or, the knowledge that needs to be shared further.
Yeah, here is the point of commerce. So the cost involved in converting the compost, putting a person, versus putting into the river, actually he finds this latter more convenient and more cost effective.
Yeah.
So for them it is
Yeah.
cost. The moment we are able to create a profit center, the whole story will change. So I'll tell you one example in Kerala. We had a barber shop problem, the hair, cutting hair. And this was like everywhere. So now it is connected to cystine manufacturing. Like, there is a company in Chennai, actually we are collecting and sending it across. Most of we have a very good robust barbers association, and there is a district collection program. And now I think it is coming to a tipping point where we will be charging, the barber shops will charge for the hair. That is one example. Second example is basically the cocoa peat, what Mounica ji was mentioning. I started working on this cocoa peat around 15 years back. At that point, I was getting cocoa peat into my company. I mean, that means for receiving every kg of cocoa peat into my company, I used to get 2 rupees per kilo. I used to get it. The coir manufacturer will carry his cocoa peat to my company, dump it, one truckload, 10 tons, 5 tons, and give it 10,000 rupees and go. Now the cost of cocoa peat which I have to pay is 10 rupees per kilo in 10 years. So this is the commerce. This is the beauty of commerce. The moment we are actually able to add value to the entire supply chain, we don't have to break our head. The business will take care of.
Thank you, Dr. Manoj. So,
go ahead.
Yes.
Please go ahead, Jasmine.
Please, Dr. Manoj. I was just about to end the session and try to rise, but I would just leave the floor to you if you want to make any more comments.
No, I will take the last announcement. So please go ahead, Jasmine.
Okay. So just to end the session for our audience and to summarize what has been talked about here today, we have discussed various angles from how to commercialize the process and enable the ecosystem. One discussion I think we can go ahead with it in the future discussions is how to enable, as we talk about enabling ecosystems, how policy can make a change when it comes to religious waste, and how through policy, government intervention, and through associations like, as Dr. Manoj was mentioning, a barbers association, how through a temples association or basically a collaboration between civil society and the temples, we can resolve this problem and make it more of an economical, we can bring in economics and solve this problem in the future. And yes, that's all from my end. Over to you, Dr. Mansi, regarding the W4W sessions.
Thank you, Jasmine. Thank you for conducting this wonderful session. I really feel that we have to go on and discuss other religions as well, because the session is meant for religious sites, and our speakers, they have really worked on various religious sites. But the focus today was on temples, so I am very intrigued to really get an understanding of other religious sites. Also, we just got a brief on, as Mounica was mentioning, on Jain temples and all. But an important learning here, as mentioned by both of them, to really look at the supply chain or instigate that supply chain formula to make people understand, make the user understand that the waste is wealth here. And composting, yes, is an option, but then if there is economy, we have better option to go. The fact that every waste, 80% of our waste actually gets into the water, when we even talk about the floral waste or religious waste, is the reason why we are having this discussion today at Wednesdays for Water. So thank you, Manoj and Mounica, for coming here and giving such a short and sweet presentation. And because of that, we could have really had a longer discussion around the topic. Honestly, I don't feel like ending the session, but we have to respect the time. We will continue our water conversations towards water conservation through Wednesdays for Water, Friday Waters, and Monday Munching with Women for Water, apart from other activities which we are engaging. We look forward to having you next Wednesday and the Wednesdays to come. But meanwhile, we invite you to the water art session of the Friday Waters this week on September 29th at 5 p.m. IST. And we are actually talking about in conversation with Bombay Ka Shana. It's an interesting session. I hope you are going to join us on this session as well. And our artist today on that day is Aslam Syed, and he's a documentary photographer and researcher, and he's going to bring some very interesting insights into the topic here. And please take care of yourself. And we always thank our participants who have made this possible to reach more than 200 sessions in W4W Foundation. And we really look forward to continuing all the 3 sessions in a week. And we are really looking forward to having you again on this platform. Thank you so much, all of you. Please take care of yourself.